The world has a logic to it. It's a relentless logic. It's a logic that's often not particularly friendly to our loftiest values and ideals and principles and to truly leading lives of integrity. And so the question is, do we accommodate ourselves to the structures of power that be? We flatter the people we need to flatter, compromise our principles, cut corners, sacrifice our dignity to make sure that we've got the seat at the table that we need? Should realism and pragmatism always win? We just say that's just the way the world is. We have to do what we have to do. Maybe that's right. This does seem to have been the opinion of Yaakov, our forefather. He was clearly on the pragmatic accommodationist side, faced with confronting his brother, his perceived mortal enemy. He doesn't stand tall and proud and say, "Look, bro, I'm in the right. You're being ridiculous, and you need to let me and my family lead our lives." He stand up for himself and stand up for what's right and the truth. And instead, he engages in humiliating self-deprecation in front of his family, bribery, shifty diplomatic double talk. I mean, whatever it takes, Yaakov is willing to wheel and deal and get in the realist, pragmatic nitty-gritty of getting things done rather than standing up tall on principle. Chazal reading this, I think, are ambivalent. They definitely understand it. Here's one midrash in Bereshit Rabbah, a story about Rebbe or Yehuda Nasi and his relationship with the Emperor Antoninus. This is like recurring bro stories between the two of them throughout the Talmudic literature. So v'yitzav atam limor kotem u'ledoni Esav. That's the prompt. Rabbeinu Amar l'Rebbe Abbas, so Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, and he's the prince, the governmental leader of the Jewish people. He's an important person who's responsible for the well-being of the people. As he says, Rabbi Abbas, Sof chad igra min shmi l'maran malka Antoninus. Please, I want you to write a letter for me to our master, King Antoninus. And so Kama Kasav min Yehuda Nisia, Lamaran Malka Antoninus. So he begins the letter, it's from Yehuda the prince, Nisia, to our master, King Antoninus. Nasva Karya Vikare. Rebbe picks up the letter, he reads it and tears it to pieces. I'm like, so what I want you to write is, Min Avdach Yehuda, L'maran Malka Antoninus, right from not from Prince Yehuda, right from your servant Yehuda. L'maran Malka Antoninus, to King Antoninus. Amar le Rebbe, and Rebbe Abbas is aghast. Says, why do you humiliate yourself, belittle yourself? You are the most important Jewish person. You are a person of immense, massive dignity. Extraordinary dignity and worth, and you just call yourself a servant? Amale, he says back, Ma'ana, he says, who am I? What am I? Ma'ana tav means sabe. Am I better than my grandfather? Lo kach amar ko amar Yaakov. Did our grandfather Yaakov not say, so saith your servant Yaakov to Esav? Didn't he belittle himself in front of Esav, make himself out to be the servant, despite the fact that he was not only should have been the king, he was the rightful king. And certainly he was no servant. And yet Yaakov was scared. He knew what he needed to do. He knew the way to succeed in this scenario and to get what he needed to get and to achieve peace and security for his family was to make himself out as a servant. And so that's what he did. And Rebbe says, look, I'm responsible. Rebbe Abbas, your ideals are like wanting Jews to stand tall and proud and stand up for themselves is great. But I'm responsible for the people, and I know that what's needed in this scenario is for me to belittle myself, and that's what I have to do. He says, I don't love it, but this is what we have to do, and it's what Saba Yaakov did. It's what we've always done. There's another passage in Chazal. This is number 2 of 3. Also in Bereshit Rabbah. So at that moment, when Yaakov referred to Esav as my master, the flip side of him calling himself the servant, is my Lord. Amar lo HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God says to him, Ata hishpalta atzmecha, says, you belittled yourself, you lowered yourself, denigrated yourself, and you called Esav your master as if he and what he represents were the true sovereigns. Chayecha, by your life, sorry, and you said it 8 times. He keeps repeating, he keeps saying, Esav, my master, Esav, my master, Esav, my master. Like really hammering it home. God says, you said it 8 times, Chayecha, by your life, I swear, says, I will raise up 8 kings in the empire of Esav before any of your children ever achieve any kind of sovereignty. Esav is going to be dominant on the worldly scene because of your cowardice, your refusal to stand up for yourself and to be a person of dignity and integrity and to say you are who you are and you don't need to bow down to anyone. And God understands what Yaakov did. You know, he gets it. He understands that Yaakov was terrified, but still, God is disappointed. He's even a little angry. Yaakov should have stood up for himself, for his family, for the legacy and mission he chose. He should have stood up for God, his God. And you're like, yeah, take precautions, be safe, don't, get yourself killed. But stand up for yourself. Yaakov could have, in this scenario, stood up to Yosef and demanded respect. He could have demanded reasonableness, demanded justice. And instead, he ducked. And because he ducked, he took what seemed like the safe way out. God says, you're going to be doomed to generations upon generations of ducking and having to find the safe way out. The last midrash I want to read is the most powerful. It's from Signature of Kahana. Rabbi Berachia, Rabbi Chabba, Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Yossi, B'Shem Rabbi Meir. Melamed Shehara Kadosh Baruch Hu La'avinu is the scene where Yaakov sees the ladder with the angels going up and down. This what's going on there. Rabbi Meir says is that God shows him Hera Kadosh Baruch Hu La'avinu Yaakov Sar Shel Bavel Olav Yoreh. He says, you see that angel? That is the chieftain, the chief of Babylonia, the empire of Babylonia, going up and coming down. Bishel Madai Olav Yoreh, and the chief angel of Mede, going up and coming down, and of Greece going up and down, and of Edom going up and coming down. Amar lo Kadosh Baruch Hu, God says, Yaakov, afatah, you should. It's your turn. It's your chance to ascend the ladder. But at that moment, Yaakov was terrified. He feared. Yomar Tomar, and it made sense. Tomar shekashem sheyesh le'elu yirida, afani yesh le'yirida. He says, look, I saw all of the others. They went up, they ascended, and then they came down. I don't want to fall. He says that's how the world works. That is the logic of the world, that some people that achieve power and then they fall from power and their empires are destroyed. But Amar lo Kadosh Baruch Hu, Al Teicha Yisrael. God says to Yaakov, you do not fear. You're different. If you go up, you ascend the ladder, you will never come down. You'll never fall. V'lo hamin, but Yaakov didn't believe. V'lo Allah, he didn't ascend the ladder. Amar lo Kadosh Baruch Hu, ilu hamanta, if you would have trusted me, v'alita, and you would have ascended the ladder, lo hayita yored olam, you never would have fallen, ever. For all eternity, you would have been on top of the world. Achshav, shelo hamanta, now that you didn't believe, you didn't trust me, v'lo alita, and you didn't go up higher, b'necha mishtavdim ba'arba malkios ba'olam hazeh, your children will be subjugated to the 4 empires world, and you will spend all of your worldly existence under oppression and worldly subjugation. Though then he says, Yahol Olam will be forever? No. Eventually I will come and save you. There will be a messianic era when the world ends and the logic of the world no longer prevails, and then you will be saved. But until then, you will suffer subjugation because you refused my offer. Yaakov could have climbed the ladder. He could have transcended the entire world of empire. He could have been beyond the world of power politics, of pragmatic accommodation, of making do and doing what you have to do just because that's how the world works. He could have been at the top and beyond all that, and he could have stayed there. He would have been secure. He would have succeeded. And he would have achieved safety. But he was scared. He couldn't bring himself even to try. Even with God promising him, Yaakov was terrified. He couldn't do it. And he says, I can't, I just can't. And so I'm going to stay down here in the oppressive, harsh, cruel world of empire. And I'm just going to have to make do it. I'm just going to have to do what I have to do. That was Yaakov's position. And that's been the Jewish position throughout history. We've always made do. We've done what we've had to do. But we know what could have been. And so we wonder what could still be. What if we really did refuse to accommodate ourselves to the world's wickedness, to its crudeness, and to the relentless oppressiveness of oppression and accommodation to pragmatic reality? What if we just simply refused to play the game? What if we just gave it a shot, standing up for right, for truth, for justice, even when we had nothing worldly to gain, even when everything worldly to lose, even though we're terrified? What if we tried standing up for what's right, what's true? What if we were willing to we had opportunities to achieve power and to win a seat at the table, but it would mean compromising our integrity and who we are, what we stand for? And what if we just let those opportunities go by? What if we were able to just simply leave our leverage on the table and just say that's not who we are, that's not what we're about. We're Jews. We are the people of God, and so we stand for something more, and we refuse to play this game. And look, maybe that's suicide. That's what Yaakov thought. And what are we better than Saba Yaakov? But that's not what God thinks. That's not what God wanted for Yaakov. God says we ought to trust him, and we ought to climb the ladder. And if we do, since we'll stay there, up to the top, beyond the world. Wishing everyone a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos, rest and blessing.